So I'm doing something new with just this month, since I'm joined by my cohort in crime, Criff.
Hello.
My other half from the Bard and Criff vlogs that'll be out soon enough. Actually, the first episode, Bard and Criff Try Moxie, is up. And he's also in some old RCVs. So how this is setting up is that we'll be talking analysis during the recappy bit. So yeah, massive spoilers are massive this month around. The man in black flees across the desert, and the gunslinger follows.
On page 2.
But that is not this tale. This tale is the echoed history of the gunslinger and his young friends. Roland Deschain, son of Stephen, of the line of Eld. Cuthbert Allgood, son of Robert, whose jokes and kindness hide a complexity as dark as his hair.
No, they're not.
And Elaine Johns. I forgot his last name was Johns.
Yep.
Son of Christopher, whose dullish look betrays his clever nature.
I forgot his father's name was Christopher.
He also has a power called the Touch. He's got the touch! Bam!
He's got the power!
And what they're doing at this moment is training with their hawks, with their master trainer guy, Court.
Who has a naginata for some reason.
That is actually something that he's here for the books. If you saw the episode 0, you know why he's here.
So, in the original books, Court is supposed to carry a big old knotted, pretty much tree branch. Not a wooden naginata.
Is it even wood?
Yes,
it's like a bronzy...
They keep calling it his stick, which is what it's called in the books, but thing looks like a frickin' naginata.
To speed this along, Roland finds out that his mother is sleeping with the evil wizard, Martin. So he goes to court to become a gunslinger.
To the guy court, not an actual courthouse.
He does beat Court to become a gunslinger in an emotionally poignant moment that was far more emotional in the book, I think.
It was because they could better convey the relationship between Roland and the weapon he chose for his battle, which was his hawk David.
Plus, you got definitely into his mindset, like, while they do show, oh, hey, he finds out that Martin is stooping his mother. It's like literally the page after he finds out he goes to court, as opposed to, I think it is still the same, same day, but you get a ton more pages in between to go, Roland is uber pissed.
Right, and we also have the other bits from the book that help build into Roland's emotions, like the hanging of Hax the cook.
Was that in the...
Yes,
okay.
Because Hax was the one who looked out for the kids, who made sure they were still taken care of even against Court's orders, and because of that, the man got hanged, which also helped put him in a very bad mindset.
Speaking of Roland being pissed, then his father interrupts his after-sex nap with a hooker. And Roland just had sex with a hooker, not his dad stumbling in with a hooker.
Now, it's kind of tradition that once you become a gunslinger, you're viewed as a man in Gilead, which is where they all live. So, as such, it's any other becoming of man ceremony, pretty much, you're allowed to do things that a man would, such as taking a whore to bed. Book's words, not mine.
So, that's the end of issue 1. And yes, we are doing 2 issues
per video
until we hit Gunslinger Born, but we'll get to that.
The end of Gunslinger Born. We're in Gunslinger Born right now. Issue
2 starts up with Rose's dad and him talk. They pretty much have a heart-to-heart in a manly way. Then we hop over to Martin doing some wizardry things to talk to the Crimson King through Black 13, one of the magical stones of the set named the Merlin's Rainbow.
They're not stones, they're glass orbs.
They're from the Palantir from Lord of the Rings. Martin gives the bad news to the Crimson King that Roland has become a gunslinger early and didn't crash and burn like they were hoping. Why does it matter? Well, because prophecy, of course. However, Martin is interrupted by, the Popo of Gilead,
who were never mentioned before this comic.
They try to arrest him, but nope, Martin turns them into pugs, and then walks through a magical chalk door, because magic.
Well, also because the significance of doors in the book series.
That's true, but at the same time, chalk zone.
But doors.
So anyways, you had actually something to say about the Crimson King in this.
The Crimson King is supposed to be a man, not a spider. We never know which colors of Merlin's rainbow he has, whereas in the actual panel they show every single one that he owns. And his throne is supposed to be made of human skulls, not whatever the he was actually sitting on.
Actually, that's a problem we'll talk about probably in the very end of the Gunslinger Born, about the artwork as well as some...
Yeah, and...
But anyways, we're not done with this tale yet, so let's digress. Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine are given a mission by their fathers to go to Hambry, in the outer barony of Magus.
The reason they're given this mission is because Martin is going to kill Roland before the night is out to try and appease the Crimson King because prophecies and all that. So their fathers think it's easiest to get them out and get them away, so no murder.
But it isn't just a protection mission, go over there so you don't die. They're actually going to find out if the town of Hanbury is supporting good man Farson. He's bad, he has an army, he's a dick, he's gonna invade. Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine get going, though Roland does get to be a stone-cold bastard to his mom before he leaves. We cut over to the big coffin hunters, being deputized. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, we find out that all of them are dicks, but really...
To be fair, the only one we see as an actual dick...
At least in that one is Reynolds, right?
Yes, it's Clay Reynolds because he shoots a man who accuses him of cheating at Watch Me, which is this book's version of poker.
Over with Roe and his quartet.
Quartet is a group of people combined or joined together by their destiny. By Ka, as it were, which is, again, just a fancy word for destiny.
So anyways, on their way to Hanbury, they stop to get some food, and then they learn about their contact, Pat Delgado, being slain by the big coffin hunters. Though the big coffin hunter part is a rumor. Over with the BCH, that would be the Big Coffin Hunters.
Coffin Hunter Guild.
The Laughing Coffin... No, wait. They get to the old witch, Rhea of the Coos, and they give her the grapefruit to hold for Farson.
Which, why they give it to her is never fully explained.
Yeah, they literally go, here, hold this. We'll come back for it when it's plot relevant.
Well, I mean, Farson was the one who told them to give it to her, but again, he has no actual ties with her. She's not aligned with anyone. She doesn't even come back after this little plot arc.
I don't think so.
No, she doesn't. She dies at the end.
They ride off and the witch looks into the grapefruit while she's waiting for her other obligation. She sees our heroes through the grapefruit and has to put it aside to prove the virginity of Susan Delgado, who did see her with the orb, but that doesn't come up until later. But Susan is totes a virgin, yo. And trust me, in the book it is described so much more disgusting. Like, I don't want to say sleazy?
No, it's very old-worldly the way it's done.
Old-worldly and sexualized. Rhea does like perky little bosoms, if you will.
This is true, and the whole proving ceremony is because the mayor of Hanbury is going to take Susan, as bad as it's gonna sound, as a breeding mother. Because his wife is barren, so he needs someone to give him a son before he gets too old, and he picks this 17-year-old girl.
Though, to be fair, that's explained later. But before Susan leaves to go back home after the whole touching, oh dear sweet Jesus, stop touching my butt, Rhea gives Susan a hypnotic message. But that will come off later. It is hypnotic. I mean,
no, in the comic, it's shown as magical. It's just a big flash of light, and she says sleep. In the book, she actually hypnotizes her.
Susan races home, scared by the moon. You know, it's explained in the book. I know that.
Right, it's the harvest moon. It's where kind of how people say that you can see the man in the moon here. Think a combination of that and the moon from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is what's hanging in the air right now.
That is actually a very good... I've never even thought of that. You know what's a shame? The book never showed the moon once.
No, but it explained it in depth, which is how I can make that mental picture.
No, I mean that the comic didn't show the moon at all.
Yeah,
something like that would work really well to... Because literally she gets hypnotized and then starts, and then we cut to her later running.
The last panel is she falls on the ground, praying for her father to send her guidance, send her a protector, just help her with this whole concept because she doesn't want to be the mayor's whore. And then we see Roland standing above her.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the issue.
What was your biggest problems in just these two issues? Not going into what comes later.
In just these two issues, it is small things that were touched on in the book that were not brought up, and differences between how things were explained in the book and how things were portrayed in the comic. For the Proving of Man ceremony, Roland knocks on Court's door in the book. In the comic, he kicks down Court's door.
Well, they needed to show that he was pissed off, since they can't just explain that he was pissed off.
Then they do what they did in the book and have him speak in all capital letters, with exclamation points at the end of all of his sentences, not periods.
And actually, that's what I think my biggest problem with this is. Especially these first two issues, abridge the hell out of everything.
They do. The whole concept of the Proving of Man ceremony takes place over 2 chapters in the book. And it's Roland explaining everything to a boy named Jake, who we'll meet later on in the series. and explaining to him how he became a gunslinger and how everything works. So of course it's more fleshed out in the books because you have someone who knows nothing about it, you have to explain every detail.
Which is weird because that's then how they do the narration too. Like he's explaining, but it's pretty much him explaining to himself.
Well, the thing of it is he explains it in third person in the comics. It's all in third person in the comics for any elaboration.
Because, like, I could have swore it was, like, I don't want to say, I think it was, like, the end of the first quarter of the book where he actually meets Susan.
But to hear more about this,
Yeah,
there
sorry.
will be a Bard and Criff talk, The Gunslinger Born, compared to the stories over at youtube.com/Bard and Criff YouTube. It'll probably be linked in the actual description.
Is that what our thing's called? Bard and Criff YouTube?
Or Bard and Criff Vlog, sorry. Bard and Criff YouTube is our email address. So yep, head over to the Bard and Criff vlog channel. It'll probably be linked in the description. If not, I'll make sure there's an annotation put up and you can click on it.
Eventually. Because we do want to finish this part before we do the palavering on the Dark Tower comics. Come back tomorrow as we continue down the story of the Gunslinger Born and to see where we go down the road to Meiji.